The Rio Grande Valley, with its dense terrain and abundant water sources, is the perfect habitat for wild boars to thrive. That's why this place is always a hotspot for thrilling night hunts. I came here not just to challenge myself, but to face off against some of the fiercest beasts in the southern United States. Join us as we begin this intense journey. Early in the morning, we arrived at the hunting site. All team members quickly checked their weapons before officially entering the battle. It didn't take long before we were met with a tense scene. A whole herd of wild boars of all sizes suddenly dashed across the trail ahead. We immediately released the hunting dogs to surround them and quietly moved in. As we got closer, the only female hunter in the team locked onto a target and fired. But the boar was too fast, causing the first shot to miss. Not letting it escape, I quickly chased after it, cutting off its path and fired a single shot. Fortunately, it was strong enough to bring the boar down shortly after. Silently hiding, we waited with the patience of seasoned hunters. Before long, the wild boar unexpectedly appeared in our sights. In a good position, I immediately pulled the trigger and fired multiple shots. But the tough creature kept running. I quickly gave chase and ended the pursuit with a decisive final shot. Fueled by success, the team climbed straight up the hill ahead. Beneath the thick canopy of old trees, a wild boar suddenly dashed past. I didn't hesitate, fired with confidence. The shot landed, causing the boar to tumble several times down the slope before lying still. We continued scanning and soon spotted another group of wild boars. Tracking the trail, I chased the boar all the way to the grassy field below. Just as it paused for a brief moment, I seized the opportunity, pulled the trigger, and brought the chase to a swift end. On the way back, a wild boar suddenly appeared. I immediately jumped out of the vehicle, gun in hand, and positioned myself to intercept. Without a moment's delay, I fired a clean, decisive shot. The boar collapsed instantly, ending the unexpected encounter. Our hunting day wrapped up with pride-worthy results. Early the next morning, we regrouped, reviewed the plan, and headed to the next hunting spot, a hill with sparse trees and a clearer line of sight. Not far in, I spotted the first target. Calmly steadying my rifle, I fired. Just one opening shot, and the boar dropped immediately. We drove onto a flat stretch and released the hunting dogs. They quickly caught the scent and tracked down a boar. I rushed into position, locked onto the target, and fired. Not bad. A single shot was all it took to bring down the boar. Soon after, the team located another wild boar, large and muscular. The two fell to my swift, well-placed shot. fairly large boar attempted to cross to the other side of the forest. I raised my rifle and fired. The boar was quickly brought down. The hunt escalated and scaled. Thanks to the dog's pursuit, we spotted more wild boars with bristly black coats on the run. In the end, our efforts were rewarded. Several more boars were successfully taken down. As the hunt came to a close, the exhaustion was outweighed by the deep sense of accomplishment. Thank you for joining us on this wild adventure. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel.
What you just witnessed wasn't a sport hunt, it was a battle between us farmers and the destructive wild boars. We've been hunting them for years to protect our crops, but these animals seem nearly impossible to eliminate. They reproduce at an incredible rate, and their population keeps growing year after year. Hunting has become one of the few ways to stop them from destroying our farms. Today, we continue this life or death fight to control this invasive species. We were already at the edge of the field. Fresh droppings and torn up patches of earth had been picked up by the dogs, all signs that a large herd of wild boars had passed through during the night. After more than an hour of tracking, our dogs finally picked up a trail. I rushed through a narrow path, moving quietly to avoid alerting them. When we arrived, we found a massive wild boar surrounded by our pack. And while its size was incredible, now take a guess, how many kilograms do you think that beast weighed? By midday, the sun grew harsher, and the air felt like it was burning. We moved to a cornfield that was just entering harvest season. Ripe golden corn often lures wild boars, so they tend to scour these areas for food. Suddenly, one of the boars being chased by our hunting dogs bolted southward. I raised my rifle, adjusted the scope, and squeezed the trigger. The boar took a direct hit. It stumbled, then collapsed, Moments later, it lay completely still. To shoot wild boars with maximum accuracy, we use semi-automatic rifles like AR-10 or AR-15. These rifles offer high precision and can be easily customized. In Texas, suppressors are legal. They help reduce noise, minimizing disturbance to other wildlife. Paired with good scope, these setups allow us to take down a wild boar even from 200 meters away. By late afternoon, we moved into a field of lush green grass, once used for grazing livestock, but since the wild boars started appearing, farmers no longer bring their animals here. After about 30 minutes lying in ambush, a herd of wild boars showed up about 300 meters away. They were led by a massive and clever alpha boar. Perhaps sensing danger, the herd took off at full speed. Luis fired. The distance was too far, and he missed. Cody managed to shoot down a boar that got separated from the group. Once it was hit, we approached to inspect its condition. It had been completely taken down. In Texas, wild boars are classified as nuisance animals, which means our control operations are completely legal and unrestricted by season. Landowners are allowed to shoot them on site, and as a result of this hunt, we were able to take down a significant number of wild boars. Since we began patrolling regularly with firearms, we've noticed a clear decline in boar activity. We've also set a goal. By the next harvest season, we hope not a single crop will be damaged. Our hunting journey across the fields has come to an end. What did you think? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with our latest content.
I came back to visit my grandmother in the peaceful countryside, just hoping to rest a few days after a long stretch of exhausting work. But that night, chaos erupted. Wild boars had attacked a nearby farm, keeping the entire village up until dawn. I couldn't sleep either. I lay there, wide awake, with my late grandfather's old hunting rifle beside.
I've hunted wild boars in many places, from the cornfields of Texas to the rugged hills of Georgia. But nowhere has taken my breath away every single minute like the swamp hunt in Florida, where every mistake is paid for in blood, or even life. Unlike other hunts, this time we use bows to take down the boars. Today was a sweltering day in July. Before dawn, I set out with a 3-person hunting group, which included Rick, a seasoned hunter, and the couple Thomas. We had prepared everything. The bows were strung, the arrowheads were as sharp as surgical blades, and our camouflage suits matched the forest terrain of Florida. In the early morning, the forest was eerily quiet, making every sound feel vague and chilling. We followed a trail of fresh boar footprints imprinted in the mud, signs of a herd that had just moved through. A herd of boars was busy eating the corn bait we had scattered the day before. I took a deep breath and drew my bow. All sounds seemed to vanish, leaving only the beat of my heart and my breath. The arrow left the string with a soft, heavy sound. It let out a scream, leapt up, and rushed into the bushes, blood pouring along its path. The rest of the boars scattered in panic. I followed the trail and found the wild boar's carcass over 100 meters from the point where it had been shot. After taking down the wild boar, we realized this area was teeming with them. We decided to split into 2 teams to increase our chances of getting more. Rick and I formed one team, setting up an ambush to the south. We climbed onto a raised shooting platform and readied our bows. I didn't have to wait long. A herd of pitch-black boars stepped into range. I aimed, drew the string, and released. The arrow hit its mark, striking one of the boars. It didn't drop immediately. It still had the strength to run, but the trail it left on the ground would lead us to it soon enough. About 500 meters away from us, the Thomas couple also ambushed and took down several wild boars. With the number of wild boars harvested, we all felt excited and more motivated to continue the hunt. Our targets were all large, fully grown wild boars. They cause significantly more destruction than the younger ones, and moreover, are in their reproductive age, so they need to be eliminated quickly. In many areas of Florida, we set up various types of bait and traps to attract wild boars. About every 2 hours, a herd of wild boars would appear. The bow and arrow were always in a ready-to-shoot position, just releasing the string, and the arrow could pierce through the boar's thick skin. late afternoon, the sky began to pour a heavy tropical rain. We regrouped and approached the lowland area where the herd of wild boars was gradually coming out of the forest. The rain masked the sound of footsteps. That was our advantage. We got closer and hid behind a bush, clearly observing more than 10 large wild boars feeding. All of them were big. The target was the largest wild boar. We stood in the rain, our bows soaked, everything tense like a tightened string. The arrow flew through the rain, striking a wild boar and bringing it down. We returned to the gathering point as the sun began to set behind the palm forest. All the wild boars were butchered and preserved in the freezer. They are a food source that any hunter in Florida knows how to process. That's the end of today's video. How did you feel about today's hunt? Leave your comments below to let us know. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. I took down my first wild hog right here in this forest 14 years ago. Back then, I was using my father's old rifle, hands trembling, missing the first 2 shots. And yet today, I'm back in the same place. The gear has changed. My experience has deepened. But the thrill of stepping into the woods, that's Since I was a boy, I grew up to the sound of gunfire and the scent of gunpowder drifting through ancient oak groves. This place isn't just a picturesque landscape, it's a sacred ground for wild boars, creatures both cunning and ferocious. Today is a special day. It's the day of the biggest hunt of the year, bringing together more than 20 hunters from across central Italy. We gathered early in the morning at the edge of Monte Amiata Forest with our pack of hunting dogs. I led a 3-man team into the western part of the woods. Every step was a safety check. Gun loaded, bullets tucked into the leather pocket of my coat, eyes watching every branch that moved slightly. The hunting dogs picked up a scent and rushed into the trees. A loud noise erupted ahead. and I signaled for readiness. Suddenly, a massive wild boar charged out from the forest. I could only react instinctively. The gunshot rang out, the boar was hit and collapsed to the ground. Before we had time to celebrate, several more wild boars appeared. We kept firing. One of them, weighing over 100 kilograms, dropped to the ground. "Oh my God," Davide exclaimed as he witnessed the unbelievable scene before us. Luca quickly signaled to open fire, and I unloaded my rounds continuously. Some of the wild boars went down. We signaled the other hunting teams and began tracking the trail of this massive herd of wild boars. Around 9 a.m., as sunlight began to pierce through the damp canopy, we heard a strong rustling sound from the bushes ahead. Luca signaled us to stop. A wild boar emerged from the undergrowth. Perhaps sensing the danger, it bolted at full speed. We opened fire. Although the boar was hit, it still managed to flee into the forest. About 100 meters away, we found it was a fully grown wild boar. After marking the location of the boar, we continued our ambush at the spot. Suddenly, we heard the sound of hurried footsteps coming from the east. As we turned, a wild boar appeared. It burst out from the bushes and was quickly taken down by a single shot. Wow, a precise shot eliminated the boar instantly. But we didn't stop there. We decided to go deeper into the forest in search of it. The forest was not as peaceful as it looked. Some areas were blocked by fallen trees. But what caught our attention were the massive footprints deeply pressed into the soil discovered by Luca. We decided to follow the trail. The closer we got to where the wild boars were active, the more signs we found of the ground being dug up by them. After about 30 minutes of searching, we saw a large-sized wild boar. We were determined not to let this one escape. Everyone held their guns tightly and kept a close watch on what lay ahead. A loud shot rang out. The wild boar fell instantly. It seemed that today's hunt was going smoothly, as we had managed to bring down these wild boars with ease. By the afternoon, we moved to the forest's edge to prepare for gathering our trophies and heading home. There, one more wild boar had been taken down. This would be the last boar we hunted. The wild boars we harvest are usually distributed to families in the village or delivered to local processing facilities. In general, we make use of them, and wild boar meat is very delicious if you know how to prepare it properly. That's the end of today's video. What did you think of today's hunt? Leave us lots of comments below so we can hear from you. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel.